If you've ever been in a seminar room and heard the presenter say something like VIP, inner circle, private access, backstage dinner with the mentor, exclusive Q&A only for serious people, you notice something happen in the room. The energy shifted. People got quiet. Some got uncomfortable. Some got excited. A lot of them got both at the same time. And if you were one of those people, if your pulse went up a little, if you started doing the math in your head, if part of you thought, I need to be in that room, I want you to understand exactly why that happened. Because it wasn't random. It was designed. And understanding how it was designed is the difference between making a clear decision and making an emotional one. Now, I want to be upfront about something before we go further. I'm going to spend most of this video exposing how VIP access works as a sales tool, but I'm not going to tell you that access is always worthless. Sometimes it matters. Sometimes the right conversation really does accelerate things. Sometimes being around the right people at the right moment changes your trajectory. That's real. But there's a massive gap between access that's genuinely useful and access that is masterfully packaged to feel useful. And most people in those rooms can't tell the difference because no one teaches you the difference. That's what this video is. Let me walk you through exactly how this works. Reason 1. Proximity gets confused with progress. This is probably the most common one, and it's so easy to fall into because it feels completely logical in the moment. The thinking goes like this: if I can just get in front of the right person, everything will click. If I can just ask my question directly, I'll finally understand what I'm missing. If I can just get in the room with people who are actually doing it, some of that will rub off on me. And again, I'm not saying that's completely wrong, but here's what nobody tells you. Proximity is not the same thing as execution. Let me make that concrete. Imagine you pay $5,000 to upgrade to VIP at a real estate seminar. You get the exclusive dinner. You get the 20 minutes in a smaller room. You get to shake hands with the mentor. Maybe you get to ask her one question, and the answer is genuinely good. Now what? You go home. Your market's still competitive. Your phone still needs to be picked up. You still need to make offers. You still need to manage deals. The proximity didn't do any of that. You did. Or you didn't. Being near a mentor isn't the same thing as building judgment. Sitting at a table isn't the same thing as knowing what to do when you leave it. That's the trap. People start treating closeness like it's a skill they can absorb. Like standing next to a great athlete means some of that ability transfer. It doesn't work that way. Competence is built through repetition, failure, adjustment, and more repetition. And a 20-minute dinner doesn't shortcut that process. It just feels like it might. Now, reason 2, VIPs sell status without ever saying the word. Now, this one's a little more uncomfortable to look at because it's asking you to examine something you might not want to examine, but that's important. Nobody wants to feel like they bought the basic version. That's just human. Nobody wants to be in the cheap seats. Nobody wants to feel like other people are getting access that they're not getting. Nobody wants to raise their hand at the end of the weekend and feel like they held back while everyone else committed. That feeling is real. And smart seminar businesses understand it completely. So they build tiers: general admission, premium, VIP, inner circle, platinum, private mastermind. And the moment those tiers get announced, something interesting happens. The buyer is no longer making a purely rational decision about what support they need. They're quietly deciding what kind of person they want to be in that environment. Think about what the offer is actually saying underneath the surface. Are you the kind of person who goes all in? Are you serious about this? Are you a VIP or are you basic? Are you willing to put yourself in the right room? That's identity pressure dressed up as an upgrade decision. And once the choice gets framed that way, once staying at general admission feels like it says something about your commitment level, paying more doesn't feel like spending money. It feels like proving something to the room, to the mentor, to yourself. That shift from utility to identity is one of the most powerful things a sales offer can do, and it happens so fast you barely notice it. Reason 3, exclusivity creates emotional inflation. This is where the language really starts doing the heavy lifting. Private, exclusive, limited, small group, only a few spots, not available to everyone, reserved for the people who are truly serious. Every one of those words does the same thing. It makes ordinary access feel rare. And here's why that matters. The human brain is wired to assign more value to things that are scarce. That's not a flaw, it's a feature. In most areas of life, scarcity is a real signal. Real things are often more valuable. But that instinct gets exploited here because scarcity is being manufactured. It's not organic. A similar business knows exactly how many spots are in the intimate VIP room. They know exactly how many people can afford it, and they build the scarcity into the offer on purpose. And once the word exclusive is attached, your brain starts valuing it different. Before you've even assessed whether the content inside is worth more. That's emotional inflation. A short Q&A becomes premium. A dinner becomes elite. A slightly smaller room becomes transformational. Not because the actual content changed significantly, because the framing changed how it feels. This is important to internalize. Rarity is not the same thing as usefulness. Ask yourself, if this room had 500 people in it, would I still pay for it? If the answer is no, then you're not paying for the value of the content. You're paying for the feeling of exclusivity. Those are two different purchases. Reason 4 is people fill in the blanks with their own hopes. This is one of the most effective and honestly one of the most manipulative parts of how these offers work. Because a lot of what gets described as VIP access is deliberately vague. They don't always say exactly what will happen in a private session. They don't define how much one-on-one time you actually get. They don't clarify whether you'll receive custom strategic advice or just closer seats. They don't explain whether you get real mentorship or a photo and a handshake. And that ambiguity is not accidental, because when the offer is vague, you fill in the blanks. And what are you filling in with? Your hopes. You imagine real mentorship. You imagine a breakthrough moment. You imagine custom advice that applies directly to your situation. You imagine the missing piece finally clicking. You imagine that thing you've been stuck on finally getting resolved. The imagined value? That it can be enormous, way bigger than what was actually promised, way bigger than what anyone ever actually delivers in a 45-minute private session to 15 other people. And that's why so many people walk away from VIP experiences feeling quietly disappointed. Not because they were technically lied to, because they thought what they pictured. What the picture was never what was actually being sold. The offer didn't create that picture. You did. You just left enough space for you to do it. Now, reason 5, people believe transformation happens in moments of closeness. This is the deepest one because it's not really about money. It's about how human beings think, how transformation works. We had this instinct. One conversation could change everything. One dinner with the right person could unlock the next level. One question asked at the right moment could collapse years of confusion. 1 hour around someone who's really done it could shift your whole trajectory. And I want to be careful here, because sometimes that's true. Sometimes a single conversation does open a door that changes things. But here's what the seminar business understands that most buyers don't. People will pay a significant amount of money for the possibility of a breakthrough. Not the breakthrough itself. You just need to make it feel possible. And when someone's already feeling stuck, behind, frustrated, or hungry for momentum. The possibility of that moment feels priceless. So they pay. Not because they know what they're getting, because they can't stand the idea of missing what might happen if they get close enough. Right. Now, reason 6, presence feels more meaningful than follow-through. This is where things get expensive, not in the room, but afterward. Think about how it actually felt. Walking into the VIP session felt significant. Getting the wristband felt significant. Having the private pass felt significant. Being in the smaller room with the real people felt significant. And it did feel that way. It's not that you're being naive. That's a carefully engineered emotional experience doing exactly what it was designed to do. But here's the question you need to ask, and almost nobody asks it in the moment. Did this change what I can actually do next? Not, did this feel important? Did this improve your thinking? Did this change your standards for a deal? Did this give you a repeatable process you didn't have before? Did this change anything in the next 30 days of action? Or did it just make you feel chosen for a few hours and then leave you in the same position you were in before you walked in? That distinction matters more than most people realize, because significance and usefulness are not the same thing. And a lot of similar businesses are in world class, and they're creating those moments that feel significant. The event production, the music, the lighting, the energy in the room, the language from the stage, all of it is designed to make you feel something real just happened. Sometimes it did. A lot of the time, it just felt that. Now, reason 7, people assume the real value is always one level higher. This one is probably the most financially dangerous of all 7, because it creates a ladder with no defined top. The belief is the real stuff is probably in VIP. The actual depth probably comes out of the smaller group. The real connections are probably happening backstage. The actual insights are probably behind that paywall. And sometimes, there's genuinely more value one level up. But that assumption gets exploited, because once buyers believe that real depth is always one tier higher, they can be moved almost indefinitely. General admission to premium, premium to VIP, VIP to mastermind, mastermind to inner circle to private coaching to a $50,000 done-with-you program. That ladder can go a long way. And here's the mechanism that makes it work so well. At each step, the buyer hasn't found the thing that they're really looking for, so they don't conclude this thing doesn't exist. They conclude, I just haven't paid enough to get there yet. That's the hook. That belief that the real value is always changing one layer deeper. It keeps people climbing, and unless somebody stops and asks what specifically changed at each level, they can spend an enormous amount of money chasing a promise that never actually gets defined. Now, here's how to evaluate access better, and I want to be direct about this, because I'm not just trying to make you cynical about the industry. I'm trying to give you a filter that actually works. So here it is. Separate emotional value from operational value. Emotional value sounds like this feels exciting. It feels exclusive. This feels like I'm finally in the right room. This feels like a real investment in myself. Operational value sounds like, here is specifically what I will receive. Here's how often and in what format and for how long. Here's what I'll be able to do afterward that I can't do now. Here's what the outcome this access is designed to produce. That's the filter. If the offer can answer the operational questions clearly, great. If it can only answer the emotional ones, what you're mostly buying is atmosphere. And atmosphere can feel incredible, but it doesn't close deals. Here's the honest moment I want to give you. If you spent money on access you're not sure was worth it, I'm not here to make you feel bad about that. These offers are genuinely sophisticated. They're built by people who understand psychology, pressure, urgency, and status at a very high level. The fact that it worked on you doesn't mean you were foolish. It means the offer was well built. But now you know how it works, and once you know how it works, the spell breaks. And next time you hear VIP or Inner Circle or private access with the mentor, you'll hear it differently. You'll ask, am I paying for better outcomes or for the feeling of being closer to someone who already has them? That question will save you more money than almost anything else in the space. Now, before the call to action, I want to address something directly. You might be thinking, you're exposing seminars, but you're also selling something. And that's fair. But here's the difference. Everything we offer in the vault is transparent about what it is, what's in it, and what it costs. There's no tier system. There's no inner circle. There's no VIP upgrade that unlocks the real material. The vault is the real material. It's built on the premise that you don't need proximity to a mentor. You need a clear, repeatable process, honest deal analysis, and real standards. That's what's in there. No atmosphere. If you want to understand the next layer of how the seminar business works, watch this video on why success stories fool you. Because once you understand how social proof gets manufactured, the VIP offer starts making even more sense. And if you want a practical tool before you walk into your next event, grab the free seminar survival guide in the description. It gives you the questions to ask, the pressure tactics to watch for, and a simple framework to evaluate any offer before you decide. Then, if you're ready to go deeper into how these deals actually work, how to analyze them, and how to build a real business without the theater, the vault is below. No VIP tier, no inner circle, just the work.